Hey guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. Very late on Wednesday, it's like 10 o'clock or so now. Not late for me, I'm on night shift now. This is the Irish Carbon Stout. This is, I don't know, the sixth time I've probably made this over the years. I make it every year or so. But there's something a little bit different with this time. I tried to skip secondary just to see, kind of going along the theme of what I did with the Wally beer. We threw the strawberry straight into the primary after fermentation was done. I tried something similar with this one. Now it's an Irish stout. It's a stout, so it does deserve a little bit extra time. So I let it ferment a little bit longer. I let it kind of chill out for a little bit longer than I normally would for a primary. I don't know, it might have been like 3 weeks. And then I threw in the vanilla bean and the whiskey into the keg directly as I transferred it. Carbonated it up, let it do its thing for a good week or so. It's probably been on the gas now for another 3 weeks. So it's I've been sipping on here and there every couple of days, and it's turned out real nice. It as you saw in the pour, it has a nice tan khaki kind of a head on it. It hangs around for a while. I mean, this is after like a good 5 minutes setting up the camera and moving everything out here to the garage and all. And it's dissipated some, of course, but it's still kind of sticking around. And you definitely get the roasty malts that you expect to get out of this beer. It's definitely different. I mean, I did tweak the water profile on it too, so there may be a little bit of that at play as well. But I kind of wonder, skipping secondary, I kind of wanted to see what it would really do to the beer. It doesn't smell as chocolatey, but that could have been, it could have been a number of things. Could have been the water profile changing that as well. So, but it's very inviting. It smells like a nice clean Irish stout. You get a little bit of the whiskey in those, but not a ton, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be blended in nicely. I did use the stout edition, the Caskmates version of the Jameson this time, just to try that. So that's another change this time. And I noticed with that one that I probably should have used more, because I do want a little bit more oomph out of the whiskey. I didn't get it on this version, and I think I normally do 2 cups. I think with this one I might have done 3. Because what I did was I took a shot glass of whiskey. I probably filled it up about, I don't know, quarter of the way, put it into a glass of this, a pint, and that was good. That turned out real nice. So probably if I do this again, if I do that same version again, I'll just add a little bit more. Yeah, it's a real clean Irish whiskey. Irish stout. There's Irish whiskey in there. You can't really taste a lot of it though. The Caskmates version of the stout whiskey, it's supposed to have like a butterscotch taste to it. You're supposed to be able to taste some of like the oak that was in the barrels. You might get a little bit of that. It's very subtle. But this is nice. I mean, if you didn't know to look for it, you wouldn't necessarily know that the whiskey is there. It's very subtle, but it's nice. It's a nice little hint or highlight to the beer, I think. So this week, I'll put some footage. I'm either going to overlay it here and show it to you as I talk. I'm not sure how the video quality of that's going to come out. The kids were kind of messing around in the other room, so it might be loud. So I may just overlay it. So basically what I did was my very first actual closed transfer this time. It's not even registering. So it's coming out at about 1 PSI probably. It's the only thing that's on in the splitter. Comes out of there. And until I get some proper hardware, I just kind of jury-rig this so it doesn't leak off of one of my original gas posts. And it comes up here through the lid. And I know it's flowing because I heard it coming out of there before I even hooked it up. And then coming out of the bottom, I just have just clamped it because I wasn't sure about pressure. Coming out of there, coming through the bouncer, and then into the beer post, venting the top here so that so it doesn't build up with too much pressure and is able to come out of there. So that's working. There's a little bit of bubbles going through there, but that's probably CO2 in solution, so I'm not really concerned. But it seems to be doing the trick. Now once I get the proper hardware for some of these fittings, it'll look even nicer. I didn't do anything to the beer other than run it through this bouncer after cold crashing it for a couple days, and it took out a lot. It's great. And I poured not a full pint, but I poured some to test it out after I had force carbonated it. I can't obviously show you guys because it's my comp beer, but I really like how it turned out. It worked out perfectly. So what I did was I took it and I ran it through this bouncer. What I usually do with that is I'll put a little tube on the end of this, and then I'll attach the other end of it to my brew bucket. I used a clamp this time because I wasn't sure, even though it was just like 1 or 2 psi, I wasn't sure if it was going to pop off. So I put that on there just as a safety. And then on the other side, I take another tube, like this one, and did I not bring? Yeah. So I took this tube from the other side of the bouncer, if you can imagine, the other side of the bouncer into here, and just kind of put it on. I put it onto this for the beer line. I clamped that as well, and it seemed to be pretty tight. There was no leaks, no air or anything getting in that I could tell. On the gas side, that was the tricky side. So that setup there, that's what I did that for the yeast experiment, no problem. What I did for the yeast experiment though was I kind of vented the top of the brew bucket, and that was good enough to get the flow to go. But I wanted to have a full close this time, so what I did was I took my gas line. So out of the, if you can imagine, out of the kegerator, let me turn that off. Sorry about that. I'm cold crashing another beer, and I didn't want that extra noise in here for the moment. It can just wait. So basically, if you can imagine, I don't have a second CO2 tank. I plan on getting that. I have a spare regulator. So I'm going to get a second tank. That way I don't have to keep fooling with the lines in the kegerator. But I borrowed a line. So if you can imagine the line going into the splitter, and on the other side where the quick disconnect would normally be for the gas post, what I did was I took a piece of tubing just as a test. But this is essentially the same tube I use for my blow-off. So I got the 90-degree angle in the brew bucket, and I just slipped this over this fitting, just so I don't have to actually take anything apart. And I fit it across the entire thing. I moved this clamp out of the way, and then clamped this whole thing down with a clamp. So it's kind of dangling here right now. But I basically just took this, I moved this back, and I just clamped the whole thing down so it didn't leak. And that worked out okay. I wasn't 100% sure that it would. I'm not really good with, from the mechanically inclined side of things to know that would have worked. I sent a picture of it to Wally and said, hey, what do you think of this? Think this will work? Because he loves talking about this kind of stuff. And he's one of the few that tolerates me sending him text messages from time to time with questions. So new territory, worked out fine. But what I plan on doing is I plan on getting some fittings. So I don't have to jury rig this thing. So I'm going to buy a second CO2 tank. I'm going to hook up the other regulator I have, and I'm going to, through fittings that I'm getting for Bobby Brew Hardware, which I think is supposed to be in tomorrow. So once those fittings come in, I'm going to test something out I'm going to take a brew bucket, I'm going to put some water in it, and I'm going to test that out. And just see if I can hook everything up to a spare tank without having to constantly, redo fittings. If I can get this all set up, I have extras of these. I'll hook up a separate one of these ready to go. Same thing on the gas side, and I'll have it all ready. That way, when I'm ready to do any kind of transfers, I can just plug and play. And that's my goal. So I don't have to keep taking things apart from the kegerator every time I want to use it that way. So SJ Pour, of course, I guess next week we'll be mailing our beers out because round one, it's due to the hubs by the 16th to the 20th. So we're probably looking at sometime end of next week, maybe a couple days beyond, to mailing it. My hub coordinator this round will get my beers, and the hub coordinators have already been decided. I believe it's Josh Hoover, Mike Dean, and Jim Huberton. So should be pretty exciting. I'm still helping those guys out behind the scenes with feedback and things like as we go. And I think I may end up being a hub coordinator in the later rounds as we progress. So we'll see how it goes. My only goal for this round, or this year, I've been in the competition for 4 years now. I think I've done it, and I've yet to make it out of the first round. So my goal this year is to try to make it out of the first round. I don't expect to win. I don't expect to get any prizes or anything, but I would just love to know that I'm evolving as a brewer and move on to at least the second round would be nice to see. So I think what I put together this year, I'm hoping that it'll be different enough than what I've submitted in the past that it will please some folks to be able to move forward. So we'll see. The only other thing I want to talk about this week, I want to give another big thanks to Josh Hoover. You can see behind me. I'll give you guys a close-up, actually. Let me do that right now. So Josh was nice enough to give me some stickers. I already had a few of these, but I wanted to decorate the brewery a little bit. So what I did was I just put together a quick, this is just a 24 by 36 poster frame. I put my logo in the middle, and I put some of my logo stickers and things I've gotten over the years in there. But it was kind of blank, so I wanted to start collecting some stuff, and Josh was nice enough to send me a few things that he had. And I put in some coasters in there too, actually, just to see how they would fit. I also put in his cat up there. I think what I'm going to do, if I can make it work, I'm going to line the border of this with various caps from you guys. I have some from some of the brew tubers, and I'm going to see if I can get them all to fit in there. It does kind of bulge out the back a little bit when I did that, so I don't know if it'll tolerate that many caps, but that was the goal. I put one in there to see how it would fit, and yeah, it come across okay. All right, I don't know if that's where it used to be, but rambled enough. That's my update for the week. Look forward to getting my yeast experiment beers back. I sent mine out, a couple days ago. Everyone else has sent theirs out, and hopefully there'll be a turnaround and we'll get everything back. Maybe we'll see beer come in next week. I'm not sure what Gary hasn't planned for that as far as the dates go, but that's coming up. And then shortly after that, we'll be submitting our round 1 SJ Pour beer. So busy season, a lot of beer cycling, and it's going to be some interesting stuff to review. I can't wait. And everybody have a happy Homebrew Wednesday. Good luck in the SJ Pour Challenge if you're in it. And yeah, we'll see everybody on the next one. Take care. Cheers.